Today, I don't really even know how to start this off, if I'm honest with you. Today we're going to be diving into a project I've been working on for a little while now, and it's not really a happy one, but really it's about awareness. I don't even know what started this. I just kind of was looking back at older footage and started jotting down numbers of things that I saw throughout that time. So awareness is probably the best way that I can put what we're going to be discussing here today, and we're going to be talking about the black market and what it's done to the full price, and I'm talking the truly full price of everything in the game. At the beginning, a ton of people in the community had asked for a system in place like what we saw, and asked me a year ago if a direct purchase shop was something that I'd be interested in seeing instead of solely having items and supply drops like we'd seen the past couple of years, and I would have said hell yeah in a heartbeat. That was contingent on a couple of few things though. One, that it followed the same logic that we've seen in recent years of buyable, with in-game currency like armory credits worth crypto keys or salvage or anything that's earnable organically, and then also having that ability for straight up cash. If there's some cool camos a few bucks every so often, if I didn't have those armory credits or something similar, they wouldn't be too awful if I'm playing regularly at least. The second thing being that it wouldn't be abused or done over the top with tons of things that I don't care for and that bundled with items just to jack up the price. And three, that there'd be some sort of customization locked away for grind-worthy content. Dark matter sure is there. Yes, of course, we have that for all three main modes. You have your level 1000 for each mode, but I'm talking about the things like hero gear, for example, a great part of Black Ops 3 that for some reason never made it back. I'll never get that one, but today we're going to examine the history of this black market we see in Black Ops 4 and its progression, and show you just how much the tally goes for the price tag associated with all the customization in this game, and it's pretty eye-opening for sure. I thought I heard at some point that an Activision executive or something mentioned that this was a test year for Call of Duty or something like that in one of the earnings calls, and holy for the love of all things, let's keep it that way and let's not do this again in Modern Warfare. Before we begin, it's integral to know the few parameters of this design of the study, if you will, going back and looking at all these things and jotting them all down. Black Ops 4 saw numerous changes to the black market systems, and one of the big key things here is that I base this upon their introductions or entries into the shop. For example, the Valkyrie Paladin Mastercraft bundle was introduced into the shop multiple times before the update for Grand Heist and the black market overhaul that we saw at that point. At that point, we saw items added in and they stayed there until the end of the operation, instead of a clean slate every single week, twice weekly, or 10 to 12 days like we previously saw with featured items and special orders. So admittedly, there are some repeat items that will be discussed and tallied up, but a not so even counter to this is that I didn't track probably about 75% of the daily items from First Strike until, again, that Grand Heist update when the daily items were transformed into the My Deals category. So while we may double up on a few things and it could in theory lower that total on the year, the vast majority of daily items are withheld, which would definitely jack that price up even more, to a level that I don't even think that I could estimate. So much so to the point that the daily rotation for a good month and a half or so was a consistent rotation of 3 outfits for 600 COD points each, and a sticker, calling card, or tag for 100 COD points, making 1900 COD points, or just about that every single day outside of the featured items. So if anything, not including them kind of pads the numbers. But additionally, the key portion of this is that this is only going to track the shop items. We'll give you a tally afterwards and also then go a little further and include the weight of what the tiers and buying those outright every operation would do to the total. Things like reserves and crates, it's honestly next to impossible to calculate given how much would be spent there. The very best that we can do is factor in that min and max, which we'll give a go, but even still, it's not really anywhere that's accurate. But anyways, let's begin. Naturally, let's start at the very beginning. The black market actually wasn't introduced all at once if you remember correctly. First, it was the tiers, then eventually came the special orders, and then finally Blackjack's shop, where we could purchase individual items for whatever denomination they came out, and well, you know the rest. Before the shop ever opened up, we had a handful of items, including some of the Muertos themed items that you could previously get from pre-ordering, and actually, can we talk about that for a second? How we kind of all brushed off the warning signs that this kind of stuff would be happening? I mean, you pre-ordered probably thinking you'd get a skin to apply to all characters because most of the games in the franchise have done that, and instead, you had to choose that Muertos item for one operator or specialist that if you didn't play the beta, you probably wouldn't have a clue which one you liked. We had things individually parted out from day one, but I digress. We saw themed uniforms for Firebreak, Seraph, Recon, Battery, Torque, Prophet, Nomad, and a couple others for 800 COD points and 500 COD points each. A little side note, I'll probably talk generally about the updates and the operation at large, and then instead of listing off every single item, have maybe a scrolling list or something, because my spreadsheet of data is actually a mess and probably would just keep you here for about a half an hour just reading off every individual item, so we'll keep a tally and a general discussion going, if that's cool. But then came the Blackjack shop update, where we saw the introduction of all the items and the start of the system that we see continue until this day. As mentioned, the first variation here of the shop allotted for featured items and daily items. These would be, up until the start of Absolute Zero, uniforms only. We didn't see any camos thrown in the mix in the First Strike shop, though we did see them in the special orders a couple of times in the operation. However, we saw those outfits in the featured weekly rotation with daily items of a gesture or uniform and multiple styles, along with a sticker, tag, or calling card each day. Again, bearing in mind that for about a month this persisted, and that was nearly about $20 each day for those daily items, so kind of wild to consider. While now you only have one item that's on the daily rotation at various rates, it's an odd trade-off because you'll see that we have some stuff now that creates an imbalance, whereas you'd think getting rid of 4 overpriced things for 1 would be a step in a positive direction, but we'll get to there in a second. Anyway, the total for Operation First Strike came out to be, with all days of updates and a few daily refreshes that I caught through my catalog of footage, 44,900 COD points. And we're starting out strong here, because if you were to buy all of that theoretically, all these items all at once with the biggest possible bundle of $100, or $99.99 to be accurate, you'd have a grand total of, right off the rip, $345.35. Another note for these totals that we'll mention is that we're going to use that same best case and theoretical scenario that you bought as many COD points to cover the entire basis, all of that intervals of the max that you're allotted with $99.99. Of course, I'd feel safe saying that probably hasn't happened at all throughout this entire year. As for the next operation, on December 11th, Operation Absolute Zero kicked off for PlayStation 4 users and brought with it a ton of content. New DLC maps for pass holders, a new specialist, a new set of tiers to grind out, one that was more condensed and with no reserve cases stretching out the length, and so on and so forth. But naturally, it also brought with it a refresh to the shop that we saw in the game. Blackjack's shop was now transformed from simply 2 featured items and 4 daily items to 1 weekly, 3 twice weekly, or 2 twice weekly, depending on what the week would bring, and the 2 daily items on rotation. Along with this, though, you were also introduced to weapon camos in not only just the shop, but also some master crafts like the Valkyrie variant that we mentioned in special orders. This new system was designed to allow for more refreshes and ultimately more worthwhile content. Whether or not that lived up to that, well, that's probably still up for debate. Anyways, though, adding reactive camos, new special orders, blackout characters, and at one point a triple play of the Sultana Zero outfit, the Maddox Carbon Cobra from the Fall Firearms bundle, and then 10 tiers, we saw the wheels of change in motion for the content style and the types added into the shop and how we'd see them progress throughout the rest of the year. We also saw quite a bit of repeats in the shop at this point, allowing for players to get a second chance if they missed the items that they wanted, but also diluting the probability of getting a newer item in the shop. Each week was kind of a gamble on if it was something repeated or something new, and if it was new, you could then break that down a little further into something that was maybe worthwhile or something you'd never even consider or wouldn't care about at all. Anyways, though, the event rolled on until February 18th on PlayStation 4, and we ended up seeing a total of, on the operation, 55,100 COD points worth of introduced items in the shop and special orders during that time. Curiously enough, that brought the tallied total up to 100,000 even out of the first 2 operations for at least what I tracked. Though again, if you were to factor in the daily items and such, it'd probably be well above that number, but an even 100,000 makes for some easy mathematics to break it down. That would equate out to, again, using our best possible outcome, a total of $769.15. Operation Absolute Zero over doubled what was initially offered within First Strike, but that can probably be logically written off given the fact that First Strike didn't focus too much on customization, but Absolute Zero saw the first real introduction of camos and other uniforms and things made for post-launch, not necessarily just cycling through the Muertos-themed items. Now, Operation Grand Heist also provided a big curveball to the system and in a huge way. It skews the numbers that we'll see from here on out because, like it or not, a lot of the trackable numbers gave way to impossible to track numbers because, surprise to us all, reserves got their first heavy push with this update. I remember going to Treyarch to record all the new footage, the new DLC maps, and everything that came along with that, and when the update dropped, we essentially got blindsided because even to capture early footage, we never once got shown the new Blackjack's reserve section, never got it mentioned to us, we were never made aware of the existence of the reserve crates and the heavy push of the content that would come at that point. So this naturally would then skew the information that we're given and subsequently also marks the shifts of the more interesting content available from direct purchase, instead going into a number machine. So from here on out, the numbers are almost like a fork in the road, both still growing exponentially, but one not being able to be tracked, or at least not so easily. Also, our data entry lessens from here on out because we saw the introduction of retroactive purchases introduced, so that means that if you missed week 1 of the event and you came back for week 4, 5, or even 10 in the final minutes of the operation, you could still get that item because you still had access to it in the shop. It stayed there unlike previous events. As a result, this means that we lessen our entries out of this study, but it also means we wouldn't see many duplicates because, well, they won't return because they're staying there. And one other curious thing to note with Grand Heist is that special orders were on a 12-day rotation, which was oddly specific. But admittedly, even amongst the controversy of the reserves and such, Grand Heist probably had one of the more worthwhile and heavy-hitting starts cosmetically. I say that loosely because, yes, it's not greatly important, and it definitely was a big monumentous downfall for how we looked at the game, but it still had the heaviest hitting of the bunch that we've seen since launch. We saw the most camos at the time added in the shop, while also having a few ones in the tiers. Along with things like the Cordite 0G Mastercraft Replacer Bundle, Vapor Vampire Hunter, and other cool things, there were also a fair share of controversial items like the Shamrock and Awe Bundle, which was essentially nothing for $20, and additionally we saw the introduction of the Demo Hammer melee weapon bundled with tons of stuff to jack up the price to 2,800 COD points. Towards the end of this, we saw our first real look at retrospective bundles in the way of the signature weapons bundled for sale from First Strike that came towards the end of that event. It was a roller coaster of a ride for sure, but the grand total for Grand Heist came out to be 28,300 COD points, bringing the running total up to 128,300 COD points and the monetary equivalent up to $986.82. Absolutely wild. Spectre Rising kicked off on April 30th, and in a way that we saw most of the new items up front on day 1. Not necessarily a crazy amount of items in the shop, but 6 items instead of the normal 3, so we kind of had like another extra week added up top and up front here. But that also takes into account the fact that we had an absolute insane amount of things added into reserves as well, so that means the divide to our incalculable total gets even bigger. One thing you may notice as the tally goes is that this is the shortest split of an operation that we had seen up until this point, which was 5 weeks or 35 days, instead of the standard 70, meaning less time for items to be peddled in the store, but that didn't stop the bottom line of the totals. The first split also introduced a ton of old items, which for a brand new operation was curious to say the least. We saw the returning items in things like the MX-9 Mastercraft, Dragon Slayer and Queen's Guard bundles, Plasma Drive and Dogfight camos for Absolute Zeros tiers, and even more like Ultimus Takeo and the Valkyrie Mastercraft variant. But the splits totals came out to be 20,100 COD points, bringing the running total to 148,400 COD points and a monetary equivalent just crossing the grand mark of, at this point, $1,141.42. But don't worry, because we're only to June 3rd. We still got a little bit of time to go. June 4th kicked off Days of Summer, and again, to a ton of controversy, as this time the update did the one thing that pre-launch interviews said wouldn't happen. Ranged weapons were put in supply drops, and of course, you know that didn't go over well, as it shouldn't. But I can't even imagine to a casual player base that doesn't listen to YouTube or go on any social medias, I can't imagine seeing how much they put into supply drops or anything like that, furthering again that incalculable divide between what we discuss and that what is a grand total. Through the Days of Summer, the only real biggest breakaway was the introduction of so many bundles. From the Summer Break Bundle Starter Pack to the Nikolai Bundle, the Mastercraft Bundles to the Classic Items Bundles, 12 of the 19 or so items that were introduced during Days of Summer came with something besides the advertised item. Whether that be a bundle crate, which most included, or just things like Special Order Nature that came with a calling card or a tag, the bundling was the most we had seen at this point, and it showed in the price tags as the total for Days of Summer increased to 23,800 COD points, bringing the running total to 172,200 COD points, and then the grand total monetarily to $1,324.48 as of July 8th. Now we're almost to the end, but Operation Apocalypse Z surprisingly is off to an absurd start. Consider this, we now have the shortest split in Black Ops 4's history, 28 days rather than the even already shorter 35 days than before, but through 2 weeks of a refresh, bear in mind this will only compound on top of all of this, we've seen 7 bundles in the shop out of a total of 9 items. Weaponized 115 and the Zombie Mai Tai Camo are the only items that don't have crates associated with them. This jacks up the price of everything it touches, and thus out of 2 weeks, we're almost to the halfway point of what Days of Summer and Spectre Rising finished with, and likely to match it in less time or even exceed it. We're currently sitting at 9,400 COD points on this operation in just the shop as of today, but again, that will increase in 3 days again on Tuesday, so we'll see where that goes from there. But that brings us finally to a current and up-to-date tally of 181,600 COD points and a monetary equivalent of $1,396.79 of extracurricular items added into the game at this point. absolutely jaw-dropping. Yes, we probably had some overlap of a few items earlier on that made their introduction a couple of times, but that's also willingly dropping a month worth of numbers that would equate out to about $20 per day. Now, like I said, let's take it a little bit further. Let's compile a little more data. What would it be like to add the tiers in? Progressively, it would go as such. In First Strike, you would have 44,900 COD points of shop items plus 20,000 COD points worth of tiers to give you a total of 64,900 COD points or $499.18. Absolute Zero saw 55,100 COD points in items and then would run you 10,000 COD points for the tiers, bringing a total to 65,100 COD points or $500.72. Grand Heist saw 28,300 COD points in items and then would be 10,000 in COD points for the tiers, bringing a total of 38,300 COD points or $294.59 on that operation. Spectre Rising saw 20,100 COD points plus 5,000 COD points for those 50 tiers to a total of 25,100 COD points or $193.06. Days of Summer was 23,800 COD points plus 5,000 COD points worth of tiers, bringing it to a total again of 28,800 COD points or $221.52. And Apocalypse Z so far has seen 9,400 COD points worth of items and 4,000 COD points worth of tiers, bringing it to a total of 13,400 COD points or at this time through 2.5 weeks, $103.07. Now add all those together on top of, again, items that you saw in the shop plus those tiers. That's a total of $1,812.14. Now let's try and go even a little bit further, just for the sake of why the hell not. Let's try this supply drop thing. Let's attempt to calculate this because, like I said, it can go anywhere from the min and the max. The lowest and best case scenario you can run through here, we'll do that first. There are 1,316 items in reserves as of today and as of Apocalypse Z. Assuming that you get no duplicates would require you to open 438.66 cases or 439 for safety, obviously, because we can't open 2/3 of a case. But this assumes two things. Either it's paid for or duplicate protected, and being that we're interested in a price tag, that means 200 COD points per drop. 439 times 200 is $675.32, best case scenario. The highest that you'll go here is that every item you get is a duplicate, meaning that every third you end up getting one new item. So that means that with duplicate rerolls, it would end up taking $675.32, multiplying that by 3 to give you a total of $2,025.95. So if you want to go the tremendous extra mile here with this, and you take into account everything that's been put in front of the consumer's face, and assuming, again, nobody's done this, I can almost guarantee that, and if they did, they're insane or just have an absurd amount of expendable cash to get rid of. But we've already tallied up for the items alone. We've tallied up the items in the tiers. But if you were to buy absolutely everything, the minimum you'd spend on this would be $2,487.46. And then the highest would be $3,838.09. Now, I'm gonna be totally honest with you. When you jumped in and you put that game into your disc, whether you got the $60 standard edition or you got the collector's edition for $160 or $200 or whatever it was, I don't think that this thought would have ever crossed anyone's mind, that that much has been at some point or another put in front of a player's face. That is insane. There is no other way to put it. And again, I don't treat this video as a rant video, or I don't treat this as a holy crap, this is pretty cool. I am more so just baffled. Because, yeah, sure, at the very beginning, how things were if there would have been camos in on the initial offerings of, say, First Strike or something like that, I think that would have been a fine remedy for some of the situations with MTX, assuming there would be, again, the option to buy it with in-game organically earned credits or something like that. But instead, it's kind of morphed into its own animal, and almost $4,000 post-launch later. Again, it's not tremendously accurate. It varies case to case, and of course, I would hope nobody put this much into it, but this is kind of the min and max values we see here for absolutely everything that at one point or another has crossed our screens in Black Ops 4. That said, that's where we're gonna wrap it up. I wanted to take a deep dive here on this and kind of just do a little bit of awareness here for this and share with you the mind-blowing results that I found here just tallying up all this kind of stuff on one random day. But let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Are you guys absolutely floored by this? Are you baffled? Are you angry? Are you indifferent? Whatever it is, feel free to let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. But hopefully enjoy the video. If you did, make sure you drop a like down below. And of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure you guys subscribe so you don't miss a single thing regarding all things Black Ops 4, all things Call of Duty. And of course, if you guys want to follow me over on Twitter and Instagram, those are the best place to get connected outside of YouTube. Practically live on both those. So if you guys want to strike up a conversation, ask me a question, whatever it may be, that link is down there in the description below. But other than that, out of the way, thank you guys all so much for watching. My name is Espresso. I'll see you guys later. Take care and peace.